always like that in August this time of year. All right.
Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please? All
right, let's pray. Father, we thank you for your many blessings that you give us all. Father, we thank you for the beautiful weather, and we thank you for just our families, Lord. We thank you for the people who are elected here to make decisions for Vienna. Lord, we thank you for just them, and we pray you bless their families for them serving. Father, we pray for just the direction of the city of Vienna. Father, may it be a community that is loving and supporting, Lord, and may the decisions that are made here tonight, Lord, just expand the love that you have for us, Father, that we love one another. Father, we love you and thank you, and it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Recorder Eagle, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for August the 10th, 2023. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, that all members of council, with the exception of Councilman Bibby, are present. Having a quorum, we will proceed. First item on our agenda this evening is our public forum. We have three that have signed up to speak, and we will start this evening with Mr. Chad Emmerich.
Good evening. My name is Chad Emmerich, and I am a Vienna resident. Mayor and council members, tonight I'm going to be very brief and just present or represent a recruiting and retention initiative that I provided this council about a year ago when the first comments and concerns came up about police incentives for recruiting and retention as well. You will see the copy that you have in front of you has its purpose, its background, has sections for recruiting, retention, and a look at the current force as it was when I first looked at it. I'm sure that could be updated. When this came back on the topic last council meeting, and Councilman Azinger brought forth a resolution to increase the pay of officers. Being in the military, I understand fully that you can never compensate one for having to put their life on the line. There's not a price tag that you can put on it. There's not a set pay schedule that makes it worth sacrificing and doing what you have to do. But we can, as a city, provide and support them with everything that we can. That means providing an environment in which they want to work. It means providing them with the up-to-date equipment and all the services that they need so that they can function in their job. And most of all, providing them our support in all situations. We owe it to them to be able to provide that support. Just very quickly moving on to another topic that will be on the schedule this evening, and that is of the Jackson Pool project. I know this has come under great scrutiny, especially that we are now projecting well over what the estimated cost was, somewhere I believe now in the realm of $7 million. There's been a lot of discussion. My only suggestion and advice would be to take a step back, reevaluate what the city actually needs and not what we just would want, but what the city needs, and spend taxpayer money accordingly. Be fiscally responsible for that. Thank you.
Anthony Harris.
My name is Anthony Harris, for the ones that don't know me. Most of you do. Typically, this is not my realm. I don't enjoy coming in front of these proceedings or even offering suggestions in this situation, but I'm a 18-plus year member of the Vienna Police Department. I'm also a member of the pension board. Our pension board members reached out and said, hey, we need somebody to go release a statement on behalf of the pension board. So knowing that, we see that On item of a business, new business today's resolutions, or item 6, which is a resolution to become a participating employee of the West Virginia Municipal Officers and Firefighter Retention System for the municipal police officers. So I'll let them explain what that means, but basically our pension system, which is that is what we sell. New people may not understand it, but that's what you sell. That's a big thing for the Vienna Police Department. We're one of the best in the state. It's funded well. You guys help support that, and you do a great job. But we would ask that you table this. And the reason I ask that you table this for tonight is that we've had 2 meetings in the last 5 weeks, and this has not been a topic of conversation. I know we're not a voting entity. We're not the one who makes this final decision. That is you. But there's not been back and forth. There's been no discussion of this. There's been one hypothetical after comments to our financial advisor, just an open conversation, because we want to understand what this means. What does this mean for the future? And we had questions, and they had some answers that, is this the right time? They weren't sure this is the right time. We're down people. That's a concern. I ask that you table this tonight just so we can have that discussion. If we can't have that discussion, appropriately, and I mean, we're calm people. I'm kind of excited tonight because, I'm here doing something that's out of my norm. But I had a pleasant conversation last night with Ms. Elam. I voiced my concern, and it was a great conversation. But we're open dialogue. We had ideas. I think I said some things that maybe you all weren't aware of. Maybe you were, but we don't know that. We've not talked to you guys. So we just ask that you take a step back, come speak with us. We can have a meeting in 7 days if you need to, and we can have questions from our guys presented to you. Maybe you guys have answers where you've been doing research. We don't know that because we've not had that research presented to us. But it's something that's scary, and maybe it works out just fine. Maybe it's something that's great, but we don't know that. And what we do know is that we're getting ready to give up something big, maybe not for us because I'm part of that, but for the future. And is the timing right? That's all I ask. If we could table a resolution or item number 6.
Kathy Stoltz.
I didn't know I was going to be following one of our officers. I want to stress I'm here as an individual. I have not talked to my fellow civil service commissioners about it, but there were a couple of things I thought you needed to know. It's my understanding that while there are aspects of the current pension system that the police officers might not mind you changing, I would encourage you as strongly as I'm able to listen to them and talk to them and find out what their concerns are. There may be things they'd like to see changed, but there may be other things that they definitely do not want changed. And I just want to stress the fact that they need to be involved in that decision because they're the ones most affected by it. And we are reaching a point where we're going to have a couple of people who, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert on this, but if they don't retire at a certain point, after a certain number of years, their pension is frozen. And they can't look forward to any increases regardless of how much longer they were to stay employed. If that's not right, check with them and find out. But I don't know if there's anything you can do about that, but it might be an incentive for some of these senior officers with responsibilities of administrating as well as being members of the department to keep them around a little longer, because some of them were pretty young when they joined. The other thing I wanted to mention was you may not be aware, because it hasn't hit a very broad swath of the news media, but Beckley a couple nights ago at their Common Council meeting gave all of their police officers an $8,000 a year raise because they're competing with Oak Hill, which is a very small city nearby, and the Fayette County Sheriff's Department, who were all paying substantially more than they were. Once upon a time, when we interviewed candidates, we could say to them, Vienna's the best paid department in the state of West Virginia. We haven't been able to say that for quite some time. We're just kind of average now. Yes, there are departments that pay a lot less. They're tiny departments with very limited number of officers. Maybe they're not having any trouble filling vacancies, but if I were looking to be a law enforcement officer, I would be looking at where within the area I might want to live in am I going to make the best money. I'm 22. I got a car payment. I'm going to have to pay rent. Sometime look up the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Vienna. The one I looked at on an online site today was $800 a month. And they don't live in Vienna anymore. It used to be we got a lot of people from Vienna. We don't anymore. It costs too much to live here for what they're making. So I would encourage you, I'm not going to tell you how much it should be. I just hope you will give it thoughtful consideration that if you want to be competitive with other departments, don't think you're starting a price war, because it's already going on. And whether it hits Vienna first, or Parkersburg first, or the sheriff's department first, or one of the nearby departments, it's not going to stop until police officers are convinced they're making somewhere near what they're worth. And they are the only city employees we ask to do what they do. Nobody else carries a gun that I know of. Nobody else has to wear a bulletproof vest at work or carry around all that stuff around their belt. Nobody else is asked to go knock on doors to people who do not want to see them, and they don't know what kind of reaction they're going to get. We've had officers have a weapon pulled on them. We don't ask anybody else to do that. So if you're worried about giving one kind of employee a raise and not the others, I would say you're comparing apples to oranges, or maybe even to really some vegetable. At any rate, that's all I wanted to let you know. But I thought everybody should know about what happened in Beckley. At least you think, well, we must be the only ones doing something like this. So I'll be happy to see what you end up with. Thanks.
The minutes from the July 27th, 2023 meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There are no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. The report of the treasurer, Councilman Leach.
Reconciliation of funds for City of Vienna for August 7th, 2023, provided by the Finance Director, been reviewed. The accounts are in order, and the city is fiscally sound.
All right, thank you. We have one item under unfinished business this evening, and that's an ordinance on second reading, adopting and enacting the updated City of Vienna Employee Handbook, commonly referred to as the Personnel Manual. Mr. Skogstad, you rewrote that for the one correction amendment that was put in last week. Would you care to read that?
Well, I'd love to.
Okay, great.
But are you just talking about the ordinance itself, or the correction that was made?
The correction that you made.
Okay. Now, hold on one second. You want me to read the whole thing?
The amendment is the part that you corrected,
Okay.
rewrote.
Yep. All right, the employee social media policy. I'll just read it in total. Purpose: this policy establishes guidelines for the establishment and use of sanctioned City of Vienna social media sites as a means of communicating city information to its citizens. The intent of City of Vienna social media sites is to provide information from the city and its associated departments to its citizens on commonly used citizen information channels. City of Vienna has an interest and expectation in deciding what is communicated on behalf of the city on approved social media sites. It is the intent of the employee policy to set out guidelines necessary to assist in the effective communication of city employees when they are speaking on behalf of the City of Vienna through City of Vienna social media sites. Definitions. One, social media is understood to be content created by individuals using accessible, expandable, and upgradable publishing technologies through and on the internet. Examples of social media platforms include, but are not limited to, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, blogs, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram, and the like. These rules further extend to and include any message boards or the like, where the public is permitted to post comments to or on any city-operated or approved site. Comments. Two, comments include information, articles, pictures, videos, or any other form of communicative content posted on a City of Vienna social media site. The following guidelines apply to professional use of social media on behalf of the city, as well as personal use of social media when referencing the city. And I mean, I can go through and read the entire policy, Mayor. It's going to take a little while. What the amendment was that I made last time was the policy applied equally to city employees and to elected officials. The amendment was to remove the application of the policy to elected officials. The change, and aside from taking out the phrase and the references to the elected officials, I changed paragraph C of the section under city personnel are prohibited from the following on city or personal social media sites. And to remove that semicolon, but it says making any statements, speeches, appearances, and endorsements or publishing materials that could reasonably be considered to represent the views or positions of city/departments without express authorization. The rest of the policy has just been drafted and has been disclosed to council, and it just eliminates the elected officials from the policy. If the mayor wants, I can read the whole thing, but I don't know.
Are you all satisfied with his summary?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you sure we can have him read for the next 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put on my best announcer voice.
This is an ordinance adopting and enacting the updated City of Vienna Employee Handbook, commonly known as the Personnel Manual. Be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby adopts and enacts the attached City of Vienna Employee Handbook as it is written. The Employee Handbook is effective upon adoption of this ordinance. I'll entertain a motion for its approval as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the ordinance as presented with the amendments. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the ordinance adopting and enacting the updated City of Vienna Employee Handbook, commonly known as the Personnel Manual, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We move on to new business this evening. The first item on our agenda this evening is a bid approval for the Master Electrician Services. Councilman Leach.
Bids for the Master Electrician Services were open on July 2023 at 4 p.m. with the following results. Mountaineer Power and Fiber Optics, LLC, Monday through Friday, regular hours, $75 per hour. After hours and weekends, $148.50 per hour. Holiday, $198 an hour. Assistant rate, $24 per hour. It's the recommendation that the city proceed with the low bid submitted by Mountaineer Power and Fiber Optics, LLC. As also serve as an authorization for the mayor of the city of Vienna to execute the contract with the above vendor. This is a 3-year contract to be used by all departments.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid for the Master Electrician Services.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid for Master Electrician Services from Mountaineer Power and Fiber Optics. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to bring attention to the hourly rates. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd just like to bring attention to the hourly rates that we're paying.
Okay. Everyone has that on their information? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid for Master Electrician Services from Mountaineer Power and Fiber Optics, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Jeff, you've been with us for many, many years and have built most of the infrastructure that we have in our new developments. And so thank you for your dedicated service. Your ability to come out at all hours of the night and day is invaluable. And so thank you very much. Next item on our agenda this evening is an internal budget revision number 2.
Internal budget revision number 2 is for the fire department, account number 500-06, retirement, move money to cover the additional cost of hiring an assistant safety inspector / fire department maintenance person, budget before change, 204,825, expenditure amount 8,000. I might have got that wrong, Amy. Budget after, I'm sorry, 82,000, expenditure amount 8,000, budget after change 74,000. And that's budget revision number 2.
This is an internal budget revision. There is no new money. It's simply switching from one line item to the other to cover a shortfall. So I will entertain a motion for the approval of internal budget revision number 2.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve internal budget revision number 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of internal budget revision number 2, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 3 this evening is general fund budget revision number 1. Councilman Leach.
For 23-24 year general fund budget revision number 1, category mayor, account number 40903, salaries. This is a classification change for the mayor's administrative assistant from C1 to C3. Current budget $32,594, increase $2,060. Revised budget $34,654.
Before I ask for the motion on this one, I have to say that this was my fault in doing the research that we've done for other salaries for some other classification in the city. It was discovered that I had inadvertently left the salary at a C1 position, which is a training wage. And unfortunately, it's been that way for a couple of years, and it just didn't get caught. And so this is a correction for this year to bring the salary from a C1 to a C3 position. C3 position is where she should have been ranked probably at least a year ago. And I said it just slipped. It was just a clerical error. But at any rate, that's the reason why that is here. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 1.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 1. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of general fund budget revision number 1, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 4 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the Axon Master Services and Purchasing Agreement along with the price quote for the Vienna Police Department. This is in the amount of $95,545.80. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby adopts the Axon Master Services and Purchasing Agreement between Axon and the City of Vienna. The total obligation for the 5-year agreement in effect beginning January 2024 and ending August 2028 is $95,548.80 as is set out in the attached quote. This agreement is for the purchase of tasers for the officers of the Vienna Police Department. Council further authorizes the mayor and/or his designee to execute any documents as are reasonably necessary to execute this agreement. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the Axon Master Services and Purchasing Agreement along with the price quote for the Vienna Police Department, $95,545.80.
So moved.
Chief Piper, would you care to explain this for us, sir?
So in recent talks with our equipment representatives, I was unaware that our tasers that we're carrying now are going end of life at the end of this year, at the end of October, actually. So we're currently using the X2 tasers. End of life means that they're not going to just stop working. That's not what it means. It means they're going to stop producing parts for them, cartridges for those, and whatnot. So ultimately, we're going to have to go a different direction anyway. For budgetary purposes, I had some concerns that I went over with the Axon rep. So it's not going to cost us anything extra in this budget year. So that's why it's laid out in the paperwork in front of you. It's going to stay the same for this year. For the following years, that cost will be broken up into the next 4 years. So there is a clause in the contract if funds are not available, if for some reason we would come upon budgetary hard times or council, lost its flavor on that, we can get out of the contract. So this is for the newest updated Taser 10s, significantly increased capability. Basically, it's a tool in our tool belt that we use to de-escalate situations. So our goal is to take a situation and remedy it without having to use lethal force, and this is a tool that helps us do that.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the Axon Master Services and Purchasing Agreement, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. You're going to stay right there?
I'm going to stay right here.
There we go. Okay. So the next item on our agenda this evening is a resolution to authorize the purchase of the Black Cat 2 radar kit with StarNet from Jamar Technologies in the amount of $4,650. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to authorize the purchase of the Black Cat 2 radar kit with StarNet from Jamar Technologies in the amount of $4,650.
So moved.
Second.
Chief, would you explain this, please?
So this item was included in the budget. The reason why I'm bringing it forward was there wasn't any items on the market that were close to this one. Okay, and I even talked to Russ about this. So the reason why I'm standing up here is so we could get that in. What this item does, it's a piece of equipment that we use to radar monitor traffic in certain situations. Usually when we get citizen complaints or officers are noticing speeders, could be anywhere, could be on side streets, main roads, whatever. So this does exactly what it says. It's a radar recorder. Comes with its own hardware, its own software. We're able to generate reports and whatnot, so it helps us address traffic complaints. We did have a system made by the same company before it went end of life 2021. We used it for years, and it was a very handy tool, and that's why in the budget I wanted to keep this piece of equipment, just to get the updated version.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby authorizes the mayor and/or his designee to purchase the Black Cat 2 radar kit with StarNext from Jamar Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $4,650 and to execute any documents as are necessary to complete this purchase. This purchase is exempt from the competitive bid procedure set out in the city's ordinance per Article 105.04, as this is a single sole source purchase. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 this evening. It's a resolution to become a participating employer of the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System for municipal police officers. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to become a participating employer of the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Sir?
Is there any discussion, Tom?
Yes. I think there's a lot of uncomfortability among the participants in the pension, and that's bad. They should be comfortable with it. They should understand it. I'm not sure I understand it, and I move that we table it, appoint a committee of however many, 5 maybe, and get into all the details, make sure everybody understands it, everybody's comfortable with it. You know, you work 18 years someplace and your deal's uprooted or potentially uprooted, then you get upset. That's not good. So I move that we appoint a committee to study it and table it for tonight.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we table the resolution to join the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. So I haven't talked with any officers about this or anyone on the pension board. I have discussed it with the chief. We also have the next item on our agenda, discussion about the pay raise for the police department. I have talked with our finance director about the options we have. I think the concerns with the pension board, the existing officers that will continue to participate in this program, is there will be adequate funding throughout their careers and retirement, that their pension will be honored and paid. I see these joined at the hip, though. I'm not prepared to support one thing and not the other. So if we're going to table the issue of the pension, then I think that we're also going to have to continue to consider the issue of the raise, because I've maintained throughout my discussions, and I've been very open about it, that I need to know the total picture. Our police department is invaluable. I agree with everything, and I admire what Councilman Azinger has brought forth on their behalf, but you can't decide one without the other. And so if we're going to table the issue of the pension and have further discussion, I know in a discussion with Councilman Azinger, we've got some deadlines. We've got a civil service test coming up in January. I know the chief wants to set the exam date, and I know that we want to set that in time, that also this issue of both the pension and the pay raise is established. I think there's broad support within the council for the pay raise, but I believe that to be, and again, in discussing this with our finance director, there's always pros and cons to everything, but there's certainly benefits to the city in considering a change within our pension system with portability of upcoming officers' pensions. So that's my position on this. If we're going to table the issue of the pension, which I'm fine to do, and that's the first time I've heard, no officers contacted me, about a concern about this. Again, the only one I've talked with it about is the chief. And so that's my position on this.
Well, I will say, I've had an opportunity to talk to the finance director and everyone else too, and I'm comfortable with the move to close the current pension program to new hires. I don't, but I'm not a police officer. I'm not the one who has questions about this pension. So I think that if we had a dialogue, got some questions answered, so everybody feels comfortable, then we can move forward. I don't think that these two issues are necessarily tied together. In other words, I think that if we want to move forward tonight and consider a raise, we can do that so that the chief is able to go ahead and advertise for the civil service test in September, and hopefully, we'll have somebody at the academy in January. Otherwise, we kind of get behind the 8 ball on our timing. And then we can come back in next meeting or the meeting after that and resolve this pension portion. So I was not really aware that there was, that Officer Harris was going to speak tonight about that and the concerns within the police office, concerns among police officers with the pension program. So, I think that we need to address those so that everybody's comfortable moving forward. So that's why I'm going to support tabling this evening.
I also serve on the pension board, and I have no problem whatsoever if there are questions to be had out there. I honestly thought that we had answered the questions that were brought to us, but until everyone's satisfied, the only thing that I stress out of this discussion is that the pension plan that we have stays exactly 100% intact as it is for the life of every patrolman, every officer that we have on our pension plan now. This move of going to the state plan has absolutely nothing to do with any of our existing officers. It would apply to only new hires. But if there are questions, we'll call a pension board. We'll get those answers that you all require, and then we'll come back. Okay? Any further discussion? So the motion and second on the floor are to table this discussion, this item until some answers are gotten for the police department. All those in favor of tabling the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-1. So we move on to the next item this evening. That's item number 7. And that's a resolution to increase the annual salary of all Vienna certified law enforcement officer salaries by $12,000 per year. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to increase the salaries of our Vienna certified law enforcement officers by $12,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there any discussion? Mr. Azinger?
Am I allowed to use props?
Of course.
Well, I don't think anybody really appreciates carrying around this stuff they carry. Here, I got the wrong end. Could you grab that piece of that? I would like every member of council to pick this up and count to 10. And to give you a feel, this is a 15-pound barbell. I should have bought a 10. And just turn it over and put the barbell in the middle. And then lift it and hold it to the count of 10. So lay it on your desk. Lay that on top, then pick it all up and pass it around.
Hopefully I had my Wheaties this morning.
No, stand up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It weighs 23 pounds, by the way.
Here, I'll just pass it to you. All right. I see you in the Y. I know you can do this for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tom, I think you're going to pass. You carry it over there.
Gosh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can have it back. It's heavy.
The chief said it was my size, but after my Adam's apple got sore, I'm not sure. By the way, I never thought about this before, but I was never asked by any policeman, by anybody associated with the police department, to bring this pay raise up. And it just hit me a while ago that some people might suspect that. But as everybody knows, there's 24 hours in a day. We sleep 8 hours, at least we should, and that leaves 16 hours to be awake. Now, when they're working, they wear this thing over 50% of the time. But if you average it out, if a guy 22 years old came to work today and retired when he's 50, or 25 or 26, retired 6 out of every 16 hours he's awake, he's got this bulletproof vest on and the other paraphernalia. And I had back surgery, and I wore one similar to that. When that's up in your Adam's apple, it ain't comfortable. And if you watch a policeman long enough, he'll be doing this. And that's not straightening his tie, it's getting that thing away from his Adam's apple because it's very, very uncomfortable. And you don't get used to it. Another thing, like a day like today, if there's a traffic accident, and you had to wear this bulletproof vest down there, it's like being in an oven, because it does retain the heat. It's black, and their uniforms are black, and absorbs all that heat. One former police officer I interviewed while I was working on this said he was from Vienna. He had 3 back surgeries. I've had one, they ain't fun. Another problem with it affects their feet. When all of us go to work in the morning, they're sitting up here, we go to a nice, safe place, probably air conditioned. When they go to work, they don't know whether they're going to face an altercation with an 18-year-old hopped up druggie, or a needle, or a knife, or a gun, fentanyl. And it's like Kathy said, they have to go to somebody's house where they're not invited for dinner. And, it's just there's just inherent dangers in the job. It just comes with it. And it's different than any other job. I don't have much longer to go. We have underpaid our policemen, I think, for probably 88 years. In 1930, the reason I know that, I was born in 1935, and so was the city of Vienna, and so was Social Security. So, we ask what surrounding departments pay. That's important from a recruiting and retention standpoint, but from a moral standpoint, we need to pay them what they're worth, not what we can get away with. One can argue they're invaluable, which means you can't put a price on them. Time is of the essence. We don't have a lot of time. Everybody knows the situation that, New Year's Eve of next year, we could be going to bed with 12 police officers. Now, I don't believe that what can't happen will happen, but what can't happen can happen. We only have about 4 weeks. If it passes tonight, we have to wait 2 weeks, and that civil service test, I think, is in September, probably around the 15th. Another thing, we have a new day and age. I read the Wall Street Journal the other day, UPS drivers are going to make over $100,000 a year. Now, with this inflation environment we have, money is important, and I would rather be a policeman, I think, than a UPS driver. But if I was going to make 75% more money delivering packages all day, I'd probably do it. You know, FedEx is going on a strike. Dublin's police department's gonna pay $100,000. Ohio County just gave their people a 20% raise. Washington County's above us. Ravenswood, a town of less than 5,000 people, gave their employees a $10,400 raise. Beckley just raised theirs $8,000. Now, you know, our feeder system is not what it used to be. You know, the birth rate's down. The birth rate's down 25% below replacement. People are not having kids. I think the population in the school system not long ago was 14,000. Now I think it's down to less than 12. So there's not as many people wanting to come into the system. So if we're gonna attract quality people, we're gonna have to pay them. And that's the bottom line. If we want a safe city, we're gonna have to pay them. And we need police officers. That's the number one obligation of this government sitting up here is public safety. And if we have to cut something else, we have to cut it. I don't think we do. We had a nice carryover, and the inflation rate this year is 5%. So the sales tax and the B&O tax is probably going to be 5% higher or close to it. I rest my case.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to say a few things if I may. As a matter of fact, I'll use a prop too. Do you mind passing that down, please? I'm terrible at lining this up, but we'll try to do this. Woo! Okay, so Chief Pfeiffer gave us numbers of police wage studies, what he called it, from August of 2023. So I believe he called around to the different agencies, and on my, I put it into a table for me because it's just easier for me to understand. And I just put in West Virginia. There were some Ohio agencies in there, particularly the Sheriff's Office and Highway Patrol, and they paid significantly more. But I wanted to compare apples to apples. So if you see the, let me do this here. This first part of the table, that our current wage is $23 an hour for the starting wage, okay? And we are above Williamstown, which is $22.05 an hour, but we're below Parkersburg at $23.47. And the Wood County Sheriff's Office, after 1 year, is above us at $23.84. And the state police, as you can see, they vary between $23.33 and $26.82. So I think it was surprising to many of us that we are not paying as high as we probably should. And I know that this is a big improvement from 2.5 years ago when we were at $17.65 for a starting wage. So we've come up, $5.35 in the last 2.5 years, which is great, but I don't think that it's enough. And we need to be competitive. We need to be able to attract good officers, good people that want to become good officers. And, everybody here supports our police department. It's a good community to be a police officer, I believe. So if you follow down through the columns, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, in Vienna, as everybody knows, we have a 35-cent longevity that we do at budget every year, so that July 1st, that everybody automatically gets 35 cents. Okay, that all departments, not just the police department. And on occasion, council, at least since I've been here, we've given, one time we gave a $2 raise per hour, one time we gave a $1 raise. So it could actually be higher, but for comparison purposes, I put in the 35 cents, and you can see how this progresses once you get to like the 5 and the 6 year mark. At 5 years, just at the $23 an hour at the 35-cent longevity, at 5 years, we would be at $24.40 an hour for our starting pay, which would put us above Parkersburg, the Wood County Sheriff's Office, below the state police, but above Williamstown, okay? So what I would like to propose is a $2.88 an hour starting, $2.88 an hour raise, which effectively is $6,000. Let's do zero there. Not the $12,000 that Mr. Azinger is asking for, but that would bring the starting wage at $25.88, and then you can see how this progresses along and compare it. So after 5 years, we would be at $27.28, whereas Parkersburg, unless their council and mayor would decide to give them some kind of a raise, they would be at $23.97. Wood County Sheriff's Office $23.84. West Virginia State Police $27.49. So we're almost just a few cents short of the state police, and Williamstown would still be at $22.05. As the discussion started happening with talking about Beckley, and I appreciate Kathy for bringing that up because I missed that. But anyway, I was Googling on my phone and found out the West Virginia average for police officers is $51,500, which is basically $24.75. If we increase our starting pay by $2.88, that would put us at $53,830, which is above, right here, which would be above the state average. So it's my understanding that Beckley was brought to the state average. So I'm glad to hear Beckley got that, but we would be very competitive if we would go forth with a $2.88 raise. And I believe there are other things that we can do. We can have discussions about it later. I think retention is a big part of this. But for our conversations today, I think we can move forward, hopefully on a raise, so that, as I mentioned earlier, the police chief can go ahead and get the civil service test set up and go through that and hopefully find some candidates to send to the academy in January. So I just wanted to share that with everyone, and I guess I'll come down here and amend. I'd like to amend the resolution. Let's see how it's written here. Jeez. I can't find it now. Okay.
Let me read it for you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that all certified law enforcement officer salary shall be increased by, and I'm going to use Kim's estimate of $6,000 annually. I don't know if you calculated that, Amy, is 288, is it 6,000 even exact? Okay. Increased by $6,000 annually beginning September the 1st, 2023. This pay increase of $2.88 per hour. The intent of this pay increase is to increase the base hourly wage by $2.88. That's your amendment,
Yes, sir. That's it.
all right?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we amend the resolution to decrease it from $12,000 to $6,000 annually. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I just,
Excuse me, Tom. Yes, Chris?
I think what Kim is proposing here is very reasonable. To not only bring us to average, but above average in the state makes a lot of sense to me. And I know, as Jim mentioned, there are, I think, other things that we can do, like looking at the pension, and I still think we really need to look at that. I do think a lot of these things kind of come together holistically to make a big change, and can help help the city, help the police department, and help recruit officers and retain officers. So I still think that, this is kind of the first step, and I think it's a really good move for the city to make. So I definitely think that this is a good start to what we need to do.
Mr. Azinger?
Can I amend the amendment?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
You can't amend them?
You can once it is voted and passed upon, you may amend it again if you choose, but the amendment as presented is as it is.
It has to be voted on.
Yes, sir. And then you have the option to amend it again if you
Okay.
like. All right, hearing no further discussion?
Actually, Mayor, I do, just briefly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, to my recollection, I've never voted against anything for the police department, and I actually support that we need to be competitive and above competitive. I'm concerned, we have tabled and I voted to table to give, because the pension board, the police officers, if they have, concerns that haven't been addressed, we need to do that. And I think that as Roger said, and I wish him Godspeed in his recovery, I know he's in the hospital, retention and recruitment are our goals. We have a quality police department that we need to retain, but we also, have raised police salaries about 12,000, and I think that was remedial. I think we were really behind, and that needed to happen, and that's separate and apart from this discussion. But I think that there's more involved for the benefit of the city. We care about our police department, but our obligation is to the city-wide, and also balancing the interests of all of our other departments. And so, I'm okay with tabling the discussion on the pension and addressing those concerns that I didn't know existed until tonight. And so I'm in support of the $2.88. I think that's a good compromise, and I think it gives us room to work in the future. And I think that also council and the city needs to get more proactive, and the police department needs to get more proactive. I asked the chief after the last meeting, I said, the experience of getting candidates to test and then getting them through the academy and then getting them up to speed, you got a lot higher chance of that officer falling out than if we are able to recruit, for example, an officer who has already been certified and has maybe 4 or 5 years experience, and bring them into the quality experience that we have in Vienna. So I'm in support of Kim's amendment, and I'm in support of the police department, and I think this is a good start.
Any further discussion? Then I'll call for the question on the resolution as amended. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that all certified law enforcement officer salaries be increased by $6,000 annually beginning September the 1st, 2023. This pay increase is $2.88 per hour. The intent of this pay increase is to increase the base hourly wage rate by $2.88. We're voting on the amendment to change the language in this. If it passes, then we will vote on the resolution as amended. Okay? If Mr. Azinger chooses to offer another amendment at that time, then we will have a vote on it as well. And then once the resolution is amended in its final form, then we will vote on it for adoption. Is everyone clear on that? All right. So all those in favor of amending the resolution from $12,000 to $6,000 annually, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? All right, the amendment carries.
Is now the time?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the amendment. First of all, we compare our, what we're paying to other places in West Virginia. And West Virginia is 49th in what we pay our police officers. And you can walk out the front door and look to your right and you see the state of Ohio. So, if somebody is interested in how much money they're going to make, they have to consider that. I don't think I appreciate Kim bringing that up, and I know she's done a lot of work on it. I don't think $6,000 might help recruiting, but I don't think it's gonna help retention. And we have a significant retention problem. I would like to propose that we give a $10,000 raise, 3,500 of it to be given October the 1st, 3,500 February the 1st, and 3,000 May the 1st. Now that would be equivalent to giving a $4,800 raise. That breaking it down like that, they would really, instead of getting 6,000, they'd only get 4,800, but at the end of the year, they'd be making $10,000. So I make a motion that we change it to $10,000 with 3,500 in October 1st, 3,500 February 1st, 3,000 May the 1st.
In order for Mr. Azinger's amendment to work, that would mean that the salary would increase by $4.80 per hour, and that would work out to $10,000 per year. Is there a second for Mr. Azinger's amendment? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question on the resolution to increase the annual salary of all Vienna certified law enforcement officers by $6,000 per year. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that all certified law enforcement officers' salaries shall be increased by $6,000 annually, beginning September the 1st, 2023. This pay increase is $2.88 per hour. The intent of this pay increase is to increase the base hourly wage rate by $2.88. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda this evening is a presentation and discussion of the pool project funding.
Thank you. Yeah. You'll be another day.
Thanks, Amy.
So I wanted to go over a little bit the numbers that I've put together for the pool financing. And basically, you can take a minute to look at them, but what needs to happen is council needs to make a decision about if we go forward with the bid on the pool, how they want the split of the money to be. We're not going to do it tonight, but that's where the decision needs to be made. And so I've given you some options there. You know, whether we would pay for $3,844,000 out of capital reserve, we would finance 3, whether we would finance 3,500, whether we would 3.5 million, or whether we would finance 4 million. And you can see the different effects over the years and on an annual base to the budget. I did base that on a 5.25% municipal tax-free interest rate. I spoke to a couple banks this week. That is, at this point, for those terms, the rate that is the going rate. The other thing that has to happen is council must approve members to be appointed to the building commission. And once that happens, we can then begin the process. We have spoken with a couple of bond council people this week, and we'll make a decision once the pool has been approved. We'll make a decision as which council we want to go forward with, and that that person will then take it from there. They prepare the ordinance, they prepare the bid specs. I put it out for bid, but it'll go pretty quickly from there. So you have the numbers in front of you. Basically, the next, what I say is the next two things that need to happen. I can take some basic questions, but I don't know until the decision is made what more I can say.
So just to add to Amy's explanation, she said, and she's reached out to a couple of banks just to see what the interest rate market is like right now. The last time that we did a bond was back when we did our water tanks, and we had 10 banks respond to that bond issuance. And so there seems to be a lot of interest in doing business with the city of Vienna. So it's very competitive, and hopefully we can get a good rate and have lots of people interested in this. The contract, the bid, which we're going to do next on our agenda this evening, is $6.8 million. And so the numbers that she's basing this off of is, 6.8. If we finance 3, then we're going to pay 3.8 and change a few thousand. If we do the 3,500, the same situation. And if we pay $4,000 down, then we would finance 2,800.
4 million.
Or million, excuse me. All right. Now, when you look at the numbers that Mr. Leach presented this evening on our reconciliation of funds, we still have $1.6 million in our CARES Act money, and we have $1.1 million left in our American Rescue Plan money that we have not spent or allocated to any project. Out of our American Rescue Plan funds, we have allocated the 28th Street Stormwater Project, and we've also allocated money for the replacement of the sewer pumps at our 12th Street lift station. So we still have allowed all that money to stay in there for the projects that are being developed now, but we now have $2.7 million left in those two funds that were given to the city of Vienna. Because it's less than $10 million, that money can be attributed to reimbursement.
Lost revenue.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Lost revenue.
Lost revenue?
Yes.
Okay. And so we do have $2.7 million there that could be attributed to this. We also have significant reserves in our operating capital and our capital reserve. So those are the numbers. What am I missing, Amy?
No, I mean, I think we all know the 1.592 CARES Act money is within the total amount of the capital reserve fund. But that was CARES Act money that we took from the general fund and placed in the capital reserve fund till there was a decision made of how we wanted to go forward with it. The other 1.1 is the amount in the American Rescue Fund line item that has not been allocated. That could be used towards this project if council would decide.
The other item that Amy mentioned was the City of Vienna Building Commission. We have had a building commission since early 80s. I can't remember. It's article number 145 in our codified ordinances where the building commission is established. Unfortunately, the people that have served on the building commission in the past are no longer with us. And so we have to appoint new members to the building commission. Our ordinance requires us to appoint no less than 3 and no more than 5. And they have to be of opposing political parties. And so next council meeting, I'm going to submit to the council for approval 3 names to be on the building commission: Carmen Conley, Chuck Knopfsinger, and Rod Smith. And all 3 of them are of opposing political parties. And so we've met that stipulation. All 3 of them are bona fide residents of the city of Vienna. And so with council's approval, they would serve as our building commission for the financing of the bond for the pool project.
Do any of them have jobs with any government agency?
No. Carmen Conley is the president of PM Company. Chuck Knopfsinger is a State Farm agent, and Rod Smith is retired. Rod, I see you in the back. Wave your hand. That's Rod Smith. All right. And so I've given you their names and their addresses. If you would draft a resolution for that, then that will satisfy one of the things that we have to check off on our process here.
I have a question.
Sure.
I know I think the last time we actually talked about this, we weren't going to pursue the bond and the building commission route, that we were just going to do straight financing with whatever local bank. So that's not on the table any longer?
This is the only way that we can go in order to get the municipal tax-free interest rate. And so this is going to give us a lower rate.
Gotcha. Well, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And yes, Kim, we could finance a normal conventional loan. Okay, but the savings in the interest rate as opposed to the expense of the bond council will more than overlay it.
Yeah. So just another quick thing I want to say about it when we talk about the capital reserves and the ARPA, what's left in ARPA. I think, I would just caution everybody about ARPA funds. I really would like to see those go to stormwater, infrastructure stuff. But as the mayor said, I mean, capital reserves are, 11.762 million. So that's pretty significant. And part of the reason why our capital reserves are so high is because we haven't really spent a lot of money on projects. So, well, it's good to have, a very healthy capital reserve, but we'd like to see stuff get done as well. So, I don't know how this is all going to work out, but I would hope that we could just take it out of the 11.7 million and just leave the ARPA for, like I said, there's all kinds of infrastructure projects that could happen.
Yes, that's definitely a decision council can make.
Sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things to also consider, we've got, these two options here. The third thing that plays into this and helps is that we will be pursuing grants. And so that will offset, we can either pay ourselves back into capital reserves, or we can put it towards the financing. So
Right. We've already had one significant grant of
Yes.
$250,000. So, that will go against whatever we would take out. So,
I'm probably going to mangle Latin here, but carpe diem, seize the day. So we look at the infrastructure projects we have managed and are working on. We use ARPA funds and so forth. Keep in mind that we had the blessing of the bridge projects, right, from the state. That's relieved us of that burden. We have an opportunity here to do something that's once in a generation or even two. We look at how long this pool has existed. I compliment everybody that worked on it. I wasn't involved, but and as far as the pool financing options, Amy, you go to 10 and 15-year options, ranging from financing $3 to $4 million. What do you think is in the best interest or most manageable for the city of these options to pursue?
well, I've thought about this, and right off the top of my head, I would say finance 3 million, pay for 3.8. Okay, but then there's the other side of that, where maybe you want to go 15 years, and if you have extra reserves, you pay that down so that you aren't. So it's kind of two schools of thought, right? You can pay it early, take it out for 15, and if you have extra reserves, you pay it off sooner, and you don't get yourself into any budget issues. So
Now I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you recommend?
I'd go 3 and 3.8, but.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to.
But I'm not a bond counsel, and they'll give us their
Smart
opinion on that, yeah.
I would like to add something to Kim's question as well. I don't know if you all saw within the last 2 weeks, Senator Manchin's earmark for our sewer main project to the city of Parkersburg was approved. It is cleared through appropriations, and so the city of Vienna was awarded $1 million for the upgrade of our sewer line, our main sewer line, to the city of Parkersburg. So that's $1 million right there that we will not have to take out of our sewer fund or ARPA funds because it's a appropriation from the federal government. So, as you mentioned, Jim, the 5 bridges, bridges about $1 million apiece. And so we have no contribution whatsoever to the state of West Virginia. They're going to pay that in full. So it looks pretty good with the projects. But as everyone knows, there's always projects on the horizon, and so it's never ending. So,
Well,
all right.
Yeah, to that point, and I'm very grateful for the $1 million for the trunk line, but with all of our needs in the sewer, we have $7 million worth of needs just in that sewer lift station, and increasing the capacity up to 17th Street, et cetera. But so same thing with the bridges. It's wonderful that that's happening, but once again, just like in stormwater, off the top of my head, we have $7.5 million in stormwater projects that we need to do, which includes the dredging of Pond Run, and we have a 3-phase project that we're looking at from 28th Street to 34th Street. That's it's over a $6 million project. So I'm just saying, but money doesn't go as far as you need it to go, and so there's just a lot of things going on that everybody needs to be aware of as we allocate money.
All right. Any other questions? We're not going to vote on this evening. This is discussion only. So if you have any further questions, please send them to me or to Mrs. Roberts, and we will get you an answer as quickly as we can. We've got to determine what level we're comfortable with, because once we approve the bid, we will start immediately to put the bonding package together and do all the other requirements so we can get this project started as fast as possible. Okay? Amy, thank you. The last item on our agenda this evening is a bid approval for the Jackson Park pool renovation. Councilman Leach.
The bids for Jackson Park pool renovation were opened on August 2nd, 2023 at 11 a.m. with the following results. United Construction Company, Inc., UCCI, $6,844,802. Graycom Construction, Inc., $7,474,000. After review by Omni Associates, it's recommended the city proceed with the low bid submitted by United Construction Company, Inc., in the amount of $6,844,802. This approval is pending financing and budget revision. This will be budget and account number 015426558.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid for the Jackson Park pool renovation submitted by United Construction Company in the amount of $6,844,802.
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid from United Construction Company. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to hand a few things out to council. When this is information comparing the 2 bids that came in so that you can see what the differences were in them. So I'm going to pass these out to you guys. The large differences were, as you're looking on the left, were in C1 and C3 for what was in the unit price. And so because of the large difference, that really stuck out to us. Most of the rest of it was fairly comparable, but that was kind of the deciding factor between the 2 bids. And so Omni did their due diligence. They went through everything to make sure that everything had been submitted properly and that we had that the firms that submitted were going to be able to do the work. And so they followed up on those questions. And so I will share this with you. So again, that was on demolition and, sorry, it's really small. Earthwork and topsoil, stripping, stockpiling, and respread removal. Let's see here. So I see Charlie Taylor is in attendance today. So if we have questions, we may be able to direct them to Charlie. But I'm just going to read from the email that was between Omni and yourself. They asked again, as part of our bid evaluation, they need to confirm the following information. Does your base bid include the sum of all the unit pricing? Yes, it does. Does your base bid include both the allowances listed on the bid form? Yes, it does. A large discrepancy exists between bids for the unit price item C1. Please confirm that United Construction can perform all the work required of this item for the unit price that is listed. We can perform this work for the price listed. Temporary construction fencing was in my base bid, not in this item, but that wasn't that big of a difference. There was also construction equipment that we'll be using for demo that I just had in our base bid. All of the select demolition associated with the bathhouse is in my base bid as well. It seemed like this number was only supposed to be site demolition work. I'm guessing this is mainly just a difference of opinion on what the demolition work would take to complete. Number 4, a large discrepancy exists between bids for unit price item C3. Please confirm that United Construction can perform all the work required of this item for the unit price that is listed. This basically just includes any areas that are currently topsoil that need to be stripped, then respreading topsoil on any areas that get seeded at the end of the project, which isn't very much. I did not include hauling of spoils associated with other areas of the project in this line item, so things like the 12-inch undercut under slabs on grade, excavations for the new equipment building and slide foundations, etc., were not included in this number, but are included in the total bid. Everything needed to complete this project is included in the base bid. And so with that, Omni sent us the message and said that they have reviewed everything and that they are comfortable with those numbers. Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah. I know the importance of and support Vienna having a public pool. I do. I think that we need a pool for the city of Vienna. At this time, I cannot vote to move forward with this design or approve the costs to build it. I truly don't believe this is what our community needs, and I don't believe we should be paying this much money for a pool. Currently, I just have far too many questions regarding the design and cost for this pool to be even sure that we are getting what we're paying for. To compare this, and I wanted to do my due diligence on this. And so I compared the Jackson Park pool to what many of you are familiar with in Parkersburg, the Southwood pool. And so I just wanted to kind of throw these out here for council to hopefully consider before voting on this evening. Parkersburg is constructing a brand new facility at Southwood. Their pool includes 10,591 square feet of brand new pool, a new pump house, a renovated pool house, new pool deck, splash pad, slides, and other play features. This brand new pool with a beach ADA access is 268,000 gallons of water. The total site work for that project is 37,000 square feet. With the city, who purchased equipment separately from the base bid, they purchased equipment for roughly $1.2 million, and the approved bid was roughly $3.7 million for that project, bringing the total cost for that project to roughly a little less than $5 million. So in order to do the math there, I divided that 37,000 square feet by 5 million, and the cost per square foot, so we can compare these two, is $135 per square foot for Southwood Pool. Now, I want you to keep those numbers in mind because I'm going to compare those to the Jackson Pool project that we are currently talking about. Jackson Pool is receiving a new pool deck, new slides, a new children's pool, a new pump house, a renovated pool house, and a few additional play features around an existing pool. An existing pool, which will only be relined, is about 6,600 square feet. 6,600 square feet compared to the 10,500 square foot brand new pool that's going in at Southwood. The difference there is we have a much deeper pool. So we actually have more gallons of water at 293,000 gallons compared to the 268,000 gallons in Parkersburg's pool. But comparatively, the pumps, filtration systems, and all of that will be almost exactly the same for those two pools. So the total area of renovation, roughly, at Jackson Pool is about 28,400 square feet. If you divide that within the low bid of $6.85 million, it comes to $241 a square foot. That is over $100 per square foot greater than Parkersburg, which is a city away from us, is getting for a brand new pool. Mind you, this is also almost $560,000 higher than what Omni projected worst case scenario would be for our pool. When we were discussing this last year, we were shocked and said that in no way could this pool be $6.5 million. It's going to have to be less than $5 million. So I wanted to compare those so that we can look apples to apples at what we are actually getting in the cost for this pool. I hope it's clear why I compared these, and it leads me to a number of questions, right? Why is our pool nearly $2 million more? What are we actually getting for that cost? Is there a reason that we didn't consider directly purchasing equipment? Because that would have saved us not only money in sales tax, but the 10 to 20% markup that a contractor will have for that equipment. Secondly, it would have saved time. We have talked about the schedule of this pool, and frankly, to be honest, we will probably be lucky to have a pool next year because of lead times for equipment. And I'm being honest about this. If we had purchased this stuff ahead of time, we could have probably helped UCCI stay on this 270-day schedule that we are apparently holding them to. Some of the other questions I have for council to consider, and it's kind of hard to determine. I know Omni has done their due diligence, but $600,000 in difference is quite a lot of money between two bids. That's almost 10% of this budget. Is that enough? What qualification statements were required in the bid packages? My concern here is, we have great contractors in this area, but has UCCI ever truly built a brand new pool before from the ground up like this? Have you guys done a renovation of this scale and magnitude, and can you handle this project well? I hope so. We're relying on you to do that. How do we pay for a project when we don't currently have any encumbered funds? The city doesn't have any money allocated to this project. Is it even permissible for us to accept accept a bid without any money to pay for that bid? Can we sign a contract with UCCI prior to having any money allocated? I'm not sure. Another thing that we need to be very seriously cognizant of is bidders are only required to hold their prices for 30 days. And with only 30 days, are we able to sign a contract, set money aside, and get this process going before a contractor can come back and say, oh, inflation, and 30 days has gone by and prices have gone up, so now we need to charge you more? Who in the city is going to be really managing this project? What happens when we receive change orders that we have to approve? When site work becomes more than anticipated or surprises pop up, which inevitably happen on these projects? And these are just a few questions that I have. And I want to be very clear that these are the reasons why I cannot vote to support paying $6.8 million for this project. And one follow-up question to that. I guess I'm curious too, does the city know how much in sunk costs we have to Omni currently? Do we know how much we have allocated or how much we've actually paid out to Omni for the design? Okay, because according to what I understood, we have almost $419,000 in fees for, okay. So my question to that is, is it too late to revisit this design, make thoughtful, cost-conscious decisions, and get a pool that is far more easy to maintain? Because we should not, and we have to consider the maintenance of 3 filtration systems, 3 pumps on the slides, the pool, and the kiddie pool, right? And we can save our city's taxpayers millions of dollars while doing that. That is an exorbitant amount of money for a city of our size to be paying for a pool, and I cannot support this.
Is there any further discussion?
Sure. I do know, just when we get to this number, this, the probable cost was $6,282,165, right? But of that, the design fees were rolled into that. And I heard you just say 285, is that correct? So, okay, and I know I think you are correct, because I looked through the Dropbox today and I just couldn't find it. So I may be off on my number. I was thinking it was like 400,000, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt because I do think you're correct. But we also had core borings that we did and another $17,000 or so that they had to come out and look at the site. So we do have significant sunk costs in this. So we're not at 6.8, we're over $7 million on it. And for me, the problem has always been the slide. I'm just like Chris, I support having a community pool. I think it's very, very important. There are people, I've heard from a lot of people in the last year and a half, but, there are a lot of people who think that, we don't need a pool in Vienna. I'm not one of those people. I was a Jackson Pool kid, and it was very important for our family to have that pool. And so I want to make sure that families here in Vienna have that pool, and it just shows how much we care about our community. But we have to balance that with all the other needs that we have. And I'm sorry, Chris, but you blew me away when you gave me the square foot numbers, $135 versus $241. And I think anybody up here would have to just hit pause for a second, because that's a lot. Like I said, the biggest problem for me about the pool is the slide. The slide is wonderful. I think the kids will love the slide, and they'll be talking about the slide and how great and wonderful the slide is. But nearly $2 million for a slide is a lot of money when we could put a speed slide in similar to what Parkersburg has and what they're getting over at Southwood for a lot less money, for a fraction, probably 10% of the cost, which would then bring this down considerably, to the $6 million range, or, a little bit less. So I unfortunately, can't support it for that reason. I just think that it's too much, and the slide is, for me, the biggest part of it. I appreciate the bids that we got, and I don't have a problem with either one of these companies. From my understanding, they're both really good companies, but it's just the cost. It's plain and simple.
Were you getting ready to say something? I think Tom's getting ready to say something.
The people I talk with, and I've talked to a good many, I think most people would buy something around $5 million, but it's up to, with the 500,000, it's up to 7.3, and there's always change orders, and inflation, and not getting it done in 30 days. And the price per square foot does seem hard to believe it would be that much, $106. So I can't support it at the current cost. And everybody that I've talked with is flabbergasted by this by the total cost. I mean, I wouldn't be able to go to McDonald's or the Piggly Wiggly. I mean, people are just, they're not happy with that number. And I'm not running for reelection in all probability, so I don't care, but I wouldn't care anyway. But it's just too much money.
I'm going to speak up. I think we are at a place in this council where we have to move forward with this. This pool project should never have gotten to this point. It should have been the powers that be in previous councils and previous administrations should have been taking care of this pool a whole lot better all along the way. There were things they could have done in phases that could have made a difference and that could have been more cost effective. I know that I try not to pay too much attention to keyboard warriors. I know that I know Tom, you and I have talked, and I know that you have people that are not for this. And while I understand the fact that they are, most of them residents of Vienna, so yes, it is their tax dollars. These are people that are not more than likely going to participate or come to the pool. I hope that their families would.
The majority of them are residents of Vienna.
That's what I just said, yeah. Chris, I wish I could look at your numbers on the square footage and see how you're coming to that. And I'm not questioning I'm visual, and so I heard the numbers, I wrote the numbers down, but I'm not sure if we're comparing apples to apples on that. And I'll let you respond here in a second, but yes, this is an expensive project. It is. For every complaint that any of you have received about the cost, I expect you to get 10 times the complaints that the city is not moving forward with the pool project. I am asking one of the three of you to reconsider and say, we need to get this done. It's not going to get any cheaper. It'll be cheaper if you cut something out, but I'm also going to tell you, we have great pools in our area, right? They all have something unique and different about them. I think it's really impressive, what Southwood's going to be doing over there also. We are going to have a top-notch pool. Vienna was always known for its great pool. It was the place to go. It was the place where lifeguards wanted to work, and the place where kids wanted to be all the time. And from the moment somebody steps on the pool property to walk through the renovated bathhouse, I mean, say, yeah, it's not a brand new bath. It's pretty much brand new. A few cinder block walls are not being taken down, but it's going to be pretty much brand new. This is a completely new facility. We are fortunate that we're able to keep the current pool shape as it is and restructure the functions of it. Yes, there are people who don't want to spend the money. There are people who don't want to spend the money. There are also people that do. And, we've had these conversations before about the public. I'll put it in quotes, the public. And we can't necessarily favor one public over another, right? Just because one person's public says we need it and another person's public says we don't. We've been without this pool for 2 years. I am so glad that we did not open it because it wouldn't have been safe. But I believe this is the time to do it. We have not cut corners on anything. We went through the whole vetting process of the RFQs and had great companies that came and presented. And we went with a great company. We also, went through this whole design process, design teams, people who have had input. There are always going to be people that are unhappy. And I am sorry for the people who are going to be unhappy. I still want them to come to the pool and have a good time. But at some point, we as leaders have to make a decision and say we're moving forward on this. We can't be afraid of the cost. And yes, it's not about, some things just cost money too, and we really are thorough, and we are really careful about the money that we spend up here. I believe this is money well spent. We've gone through the process of the bidding process and making sure that the companies that bid were good companies. And I believe we have a good one here that can do the project. They know our expectation, and they have said, yes, we can complete this project in time. I'll reiterate, yes, there are people who are going to be frustrated if this passes. But there are going to be a lot more people frustrated if it doesn't.
So I've got comments. So I'm looking at what Omni provided in our overall opinion of probable cost, and with 1.4 million in contingencies, it was just over $6 million. Now we're looking at 6.8. We've heard every department head come in here, particular Public Works, Craig Metz, telling us time and again, the increases that we're facing with inflation, building materials and costs. Chris's points are well taken. I think that, saying that Southwood's a completely new pool and Jackson's not, I have to agree with what Melissa says. This is a pretty big makeover. The slides have always been a point of contention through these conversations. Keep in mind that this design, while requiring a separate filtration system, also opens up this slide to a much greater number of children because it reduces your height requirement by about 6 inches. Okay, so all of a sudden at 4 and 5, you can get on the slide. Otherwise, you're waiting until you're 7 or 8. The costs are unfortunate. I know UCCI to be a reputable company. They worked hard on this bid, I can tell, and they delivered, a substantially lower bid than another quality company. So, it's unfortunate, and I kind of agree with what Melissa said in terms of maybe, there was an earlier opportunity to address this issue. Sunk costs are another thing that have to be given serious consideration. We've gone a long way down this road. And if we have unintended pull the plug on the pool, we're not going to recover those costs and get this back. So as unfortunate as the cost of this pool is, as it looks to be now, I would hope that this 270-day deliverable that's been promised happens, and we have a pool by Memorial Day, and that, and then finally, we've been talking, and I've met with Kim and with Chris and talking about some ideas, not just for the police department, all departments, and what opportunities we have to take Vienna to a new level. Maybe with this idea of some type, not economic development, and I have no idea what to be called. I'm calling it city advocate for lack of a better term. But we have an opportunity, and I hopefully this council and councils to come see a vision that we do have the tools and we do have the opportunity to take Vienna to a level. And the mayor told me that he was at a meeting and he was talking to some folks maybe from Lost Creek and so on, and he mentioned the city of Vienna, and they said they didn't know what that was. They didn't know, they weren't familiar. Right?
The other one was Lewisburg.
And from Lewisburg, all right? That needs to change, we're working on, and I'll tell the officers, Kim and Chris and I, we're talking about doing some promotional materials, start with recruitment for the police department citywide, And so, and also talked about the blessings that we have had with respect to the announcement the mayor just made as far as the sewer line, the bridges, and so on. So, and everybody talks about balance, and it is. So, yeah, it's unfortunate we're here. It's unfortunate this much money, and it is shocking. But I think, my opinion is, we bite the bullet, plow ahead, get this project done, and move on with the development of the city of Vienna.
The other thing that I think that plays into this is when we talked about the reconciliation of funds, and there's $2.7 million left in the ARP money in the CARES Act. That was a gift. So if you consider that as a separate funding source, then really the city of Vienna is taking on $4.1 million to build this pool. Because we were given $2.7 million from the federal government. Now, I can't think of a better investment in the long-term city of Vienna of that $2.7 million than a swimming pool improvement for one that was built in 1965. That pool was built in 1965. This is the first major update that has been done or proposed to be done. And so you take the $2.7 million that was just handed to us off the 6.8 is $4.1 million. $4.1 million. I don't know. For me, it's a good investment for long-term growth of the city of Vienna. Mr. Azinger, you had another comment?
Yes, sir. I've no question. We need a new pool. Why don't we build a pool? What finally got to me was a $2 million slide. You could build a slide that goes directly into the pool. I think you save that $2 million and you come out with a project of $5 million. You'd have a nice facility, and I think that would do it.
I'm going to mention a couple more things. On top of you're mentioning federal money that's come in, we will also have the grant money that's coming in. So, yes, I understand you want to look at the final price tag of the whole thing. Right, I get it. But that's why we're going to have grant money coming in. That's why we're reaching out to that's why all of that is going to be necessary. I can agree with, wow, slide $2 million, but I mean, bread's more expensive and everything. I mean, than it used to be. And this. I'll be honest. I'm frustrated because we've gone through a whole design process, and things have passed all the way to this point. We're not talking at this point about, well, can we redesign it? Can we refigure it? Can we do all these things? No, that the conversation we're having right now is whether or not we're ready to spend the money to build the pool now and have a pool for next year. That's the conversation we're having. And I understand that the calculations that you're making in your head are whether or not, we can pick this thing apart and make it a little bit cheaper, but cheaper for what? And we're serving all ages here. I am so excited. I'm trying to compartmentalize things that are happening right now about, what needs to take place. This is the next step. But shortly after this is when we're starting to have this conversation about programming, about pool management, and about the pool season and how long we have it open, and when the swim lanes are open for people who don't want to be there during free swim, right? What events we're going to have, what kind of packages we're going to offer for birthday parties. All of this is what's coming shortly after this, because the construction folks are going to start doing their thing, and then we're going to have more that we have to organize on our side. I know that people over at the senior center have been frustrated that the pool's been closed. They want to do their exercises here. This is where they like to be. They like to be in Vienna, and they want to do it here. The kids want to stay here. We need to move forward on this tonight. I believe the answer needs to be yes tonight. I'm encouraging you to change your mind.
Actually, one thing that's on my mind as Chris is concerned, you know, that we're doing a bid approval where we haven't appropriated funds. And I think that, you know, Chris has presented numbers that I haven't seen yet with respect to Southwood, and I respect that. And, you know, and as far as this apples to apples, apples to oranges. So I think that I would move to table approval of this bid request to investigate what we're talking about is how this is going to be funded. I'd also like to see your data on Southwood Park. I'm not going to back off, you know, on the fact that this slide is the centerpiece of this project, and it will distinguish us from anything else in this area, and also really open up this to, you know, a lot. That's real important to me. You know, everybody knows you tried to hit the line, right, on the rides and on this and that, and I think that's real important. And the separate slide out is, I think it's worth it. So I would move to table it, to take a look at Chris, to discuss with Amy as far as do we have the cart before the horse on financing, and set this. I know that time, just like we've been talking with the police department, we move forward, is important. But that's my motion.
Are we allowed to have Amy's input on whether or not that?
Pardon me?
Are we allowed to have Amy's input this evening since she's here to ask if we have the cart before the horse?
No.
I know you have to do the second first.
We have a motion to table this, so everything else stops at that point, with the exception of if it's tabled this evening, we will have a special council meeting next week. We will gather every bit of information that you all have brought up this evening, and we will go through it and tell you exactly the options that are there, so that decision could be made on the bid approval, the financing, the whole thing, the whole project. That way there will be no questions. You know, as Chris said, we don't have the financing there. And so, what's that?
I mean, we can't go forward with financing until the bid is approved.
I got you.
We can't, yeah.
Yes. But we'll have the information to fill in the blanks, okay? So Mr. Leach made a motion to table this. We would table it for 1 week. Is there a second? I'll second it for the table. It's been moved and seconded that we table this for 1 week to gather the information to put the total picture together. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. In this proposal, did that include the pool liner? Because I know there's discussion about that. So the pool liner is included in
Yeah.
this? Okay.
Okay. I'll call for the question. All those in favor of tabling this for 1 week, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Okay. All right. That concludes our agenda.
2 to 4. So it failed. The table failed.
It failed.
The table failed.
Motion to table failed.
Oh, okay, fine. All right. So then we go back to the original resolution. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid for the Jackson Park pool renovation from United Construction Company in the amount of $6,844,802. We've hashed it out for 20 minutes, so are we ready to vote? All those in favor of the low bid from United Construction, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? All right, 3-3's a tie, it fails. Okay? All right, Tom, don't put your hat on. That concludes our agenda this evening, but before we leave, we have a executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter.
Do
Second.
we have a 5-minute recess?
We will. It's been moved and seconded that we go into executive session to discuss a legal matter. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of executive session, please signify by raising your right.